area. If you would just take a moment to make sure that you're muted, and if you're available and able to, please turn your video on so we can all see you. And also, go ahead and rename yourself to include your name and the school that you attend. So first and last name and the school you attend. If you haven't done that before, if you click on your little video box, there should be, in the upper right corner, there should be 3 dots, and you should be able to rename yourself there. So first name, last name, and the school that you attend. And for anyone who rolled in just after that, welcome. Please just take a moment to make sure that you're muted and to turn your video on if you're able to, and rename yourself to first name, last name, and the school that you attend. I'll actually put that in the chat. Wait. Oh. All right, well, thank you all so much for taking a moment to do that for us. We're so excited to have you join and to have this conversation about the 2020 Cox-State Department Diplomacy Seminar. Thank you all for joining us virtually today. We're so happy to have you here. My name is Nicole Brzezowski. I am the program manager at the Una Chapman Cox Foundation, and just want to take a moment to have our staff introduce themselves as well. Heather?
Thank you, Nicole. Hi, everybody. I'm Heather. I coordinate this program with the Cox-State Foundation, so I work very closely with Nicole. This will be our 3rd year running this program. We are so excited to have you all join us today, and I'll now pass it along to the program leader, Meredith.
Hi, guys. So excited to have you on the call. I also work at the Close-Up Foundation, like Heather said, and I help Nicole on the ground run this program. So I get to spend a lot of time with all of you when you are here working with us through the Diplomacy Center. So excited to see all of your faces and hope to see some of you in October when the program kicks off. So with that, I'll turn it back to Nicole.
Well, thank you guys so much. We also have our alumni here. We have Jeff Simmons of our 2018 cohort, Samaria Herbert, and Catherine Torres of our 2019 cohort, and Yolanda Kearney, who is the diplomat in residence for the DC metro area. You will get to meet them shortly and a little later on in our program. And so the last but not least introduction that I'd like to welcome our welcome speaker, Ambassador Lino Gutierrez.
Thank you, Nicole. It's a pleasure to be here. I am the executive director of the Cox Foundation, which sponsors this program, and this is the 3rd year that we're doing this seminar. And this will be the first year we have to do it virtually because of the COVID-19 situation. But it has been one of the most rewarding programs for us in the Cox Foundation. We are a foundation that supports the Foreign Service and the Department of State. And every year we fund programs that support the Foreign Service families, educating the public about the value of diplomacy and the Foreign Service. And we even sponsor sabbatical fellowships where Foreign Service officers can take a year off and pursue individual projects. But this project marked the first time we brought students from, many of whom were from HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, Hispanic serving institutions, and other minority serving institutions, and brought them to Washington, D.C., which we did in 2018 and 2019, for an experience in learning what diplomacy is about in the State Department, what jobs are available, what Foreign Service officers do, and giving them a chance to talk to ambassadors, other diplomats, current Foreign Service officers, and many from other agencies too, because the Foreign Service includes not only the Department of State, but the Agency for International Development, Department of Commerce, Agriculture, and many other agencies have their own Foreign Service. So for myself, I can tell you I'm a retired Foreign Service officer. I served in 7 different countries. I worked for 6 presidents and 11 secretaries of state. And frankly, I had a great time. I'm one of those only in America stories that I was born in another country, in my case, Cuba, and came to this country, became an American citizen, and I got to represent the United States in 7 different countries, and was honored, lucky enough to be named ambassador twice, once by President Clinton, ambassador to Nicaragua, and once by President Bush, ambassador to Argentina. And I guess the moral of the story is if a guy like me, who came from another country, can make it in the State Department and to the rank of ambassador, any of you can, if this is a career for you. So we're trying to teach you a lot about the career, put you in touch with people, and we hope you apply. And if you're selected, have a great experience. But you will hear from 3 alumni that have participated in this program before. So back to you, Nicole. We'll talk later.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Gutierrez, for that warm welcome. And just for everyone who's on, Ambassador Gutierrez will be staying on with us through the program. So I wanted to just take a moment to say that if you have any questions for him, or as you hear from our alumni and from Yolanda Kearney, who you'll be hearing from shortly, we will be opening the floor for questions later on in the program. So make a note of your questions, keep them in mind so that you'll be able to ask them during the Q&A. So I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to take a couple minutes to give you all an intro to the program before I introduce our alumni. But the Cox-State Department Diplomacy Seminar is a competitive, fully funded professional exploration program for undergraduate students from groups historically underrepresented in the Foreign Service. As Ambassador Gutierrez mentioned, I just want to echo that fully. It's been one of the most rewarding things that we've worked on together. And this program is for students who want to gain a better understanding of the role of diplomats in promoting diplomacy, and for you all to learn about the educational, internship, and career opportunities in the Foreign and Civil Service at the Department of State, because there are just so many. Over the past 2 years, we've received hundreds of applications, 250 our first year, 540 our second. So this is a competitive program, and our cohorts represent the top 7% of our applicants. They also represent diversity in background, race, culture, school and school year, and also major. We have seen successful applicants who were from, doing programs in international relations, but also those who were doing programs in communications or majoring in mechanical engineering. We had a bio major last year, and so this program is truly open to anyone who has an interest in working abroad, being a global citizen, working in diplomacy, and being a part of that mission and that public service. So what are these hundreds of applicants even applying to? What are they applying to even do? The seminar is not just about listening to presentations, and we definitely promote professional development through doing. We see our role, as Meredith mentioned, she and I will spend a lot of time with you on program, and we see our role as that of giving cohorts the opportunities to learn about the department through direct engagement with distinguished ambassadors, foreign service officers, and other individuals who are working in international facing careers. This year, the program will be a 5-day virtual program as opposed to being in DC, but getting to know the department through doing remains the core of the program. So we will be doing everything we can to bring the department to our 2020 cohort in their bedroom, their living room, wherever they might be right now. And we're still excited to be able to offer experiences like a virtual simulation with the National Museum of American Diplomacy, which is where our past 2 cohorts have gotten the chance to test drive a diplomatic career and actually act as a diplomat. We're also excited to still be offering the Foreign Service Officer experience to our 2020 cohort, which is where you actually get to sit with a diplomat in a small group format. We're talking 2 to 3 students per Foreign Service Officer volunteer, and speak with them directly about their work, their career journey, and most importantly, you get to ask them your burning questions, things that maybe you can't Google, you're not sure who to ask, you're not sure if you can ask. You get to sit down directly with a Foreign Service Officer and ask them those questions. And the other thing that we're really excited to bring together for 2020 is to continue the community building of a fabulous cohort. Our 2018 and 2019 cohorts, we keep in touch with them. They keep getting annoying emails from me, so I'm sure they'll tell you all about that. But they stay connected with each other, and they're a network. They're connected through LinkedIn, but also even through Instagram and just socially, and keep in touch with each other. And that's been another really rewarding part of working on this program for Meredith and I. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to our alumni panel and welcome. I'll turn it over to Jeff first to start us off with introductions. If you don't mind just starting with your name, school and cohort year, and a little bit about what you're up to now.
Greetings, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Jeffrey Simmons. I'm from the 2018 Cox program cohort. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm a graduate of FAMU, a 2017 Ringo Scholar, 2019 Ringo Fellow, and I'm currently in my second year of a master's degree at American University School of International Service. And I'll pass it along to Samaria.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here today. My name is Samaria Abair. I am an alumna from the University of St. Thomas in Houston, Texas. I was a 2019 cohort. I actually just graduated technically last week, I think. I finished my last class. And I'm currently the chief of staff for a state representative. I'm coming to y'all again from Houston, Texas. It's about 100 degrees right now. So I'll pass it on to Kat and she can do her introduction.
Hi everyone, I'm Kat Torres. I'm a senior at the University of North Georgia, and I'm part of the 2019 cohort. Right now, I'm waiting on getting my security clearance for an internship with the Department of State, specifically with the East Asia and Pacific Bureau. I'll turn it over to Nicole now.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being with us. And I'm pretty much going to turn this part over to you, but I want to kick us off with one quick question, which is, why did you apply to the diplomacy seminar? I'll pass it off to Jeff.
Very well. Well, I applied to the diplomacy seminar during my senior year at FAMU. I was looking for opportunities where I could get prepared for a career in the State Department, sort of learn more about how that would work. And my diplomatic residents told me about the program, so I put in my application. I wanted to be able to network with people in state, learn about how I could get into the State Department, and I was also sort of looking for different opportunities. So it became a really perfect opportunity for me to get out there and have that experience.
Yeah, so just like Jeff, it was my senior year, and I went to the University of St. Thomas in Houston, Texas. Two of my professors are former Foreign Service officers, so they really became my mentors, and one of them heard about this opportunity, and they were like, hey, Samaria, you should apply for this. I had applied for 2 or 3 other programs at the State Department. I hadn't been accepted, so I was like, I don't really know about this. And they were like, no, go ahead, apply, and let's see what happens. So with that, long story short, I ended up getting into the program, and it was one of the best decisions ever. And we'll talk about it more, but I applied because of my mentor at school, so.
All right, for me, I honestly didn't really know what the Department of State really did prior to this program, and I just applied because I love being a public servant, and I love traveling, and what a better way to travel and have a career through the Department of State. And my what's her name? She's the advisor for the Office of Nationally Competitive Scholarships. She's like, hey, we heard about this. We would love for you to sign up and see if you would like it, because it's a career exploration program. So I was like, all right, sure. So I signed up for it literally like 2 days before it was due, and I somehow got in, thankfully. Yeah, best experience ever. I'll turn it over to Nicole.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much for sharing that. And I kind of want to touch on something that you just said, Catherine, which is that, you didn't really know what the State Department was before you applied, and that this was a career exploration program. And so I'm kind of curious to hear from all 3 of you. What were some of your passions, your career interests? Jeff, it sounded like you already had a little bit of interest in the State Department itself. But Catherine, you weren't really sure at all. So I was curious, what were some of your passions and career interests, and how did you learn about them through the seminar? Or how did you kind of discover how did you discover questions or informations or things that would help you decide whether or not the department was for you through the seminar?
Well, I can take the first stab at this question. So ever since I was a kid, I had a strong fascination with Star Trek. I just love the idea of traveling all over the world and, well, more so the universe, and learning about the different people there. That was birthed into a love of diplomacy. I went into one diplomacy program in middle school, loved it. Wanted to study a language in high school, and so I did study German. And in college, I kept on that same track, studying international relations. And I just wanted to have and be in that space of being a diplomat. So I was in the Wrangell Scholars Program, which is a chance to learn more about that. But around my senior year, I still wanted more opportunities to learn more about how I could actually be a part of this career and this lifestyle. And that's where the Cox program really came in, because it gave me a chance to go to DC, to network, to meet people that were really influential there. And it really just aligned perfectly. Around the same time I applied for Cox, I also applied for the Wrangell Fellowship. And when you apply for the fellowship, you don't know if you'll get it or not. So everything is really up in the air. Things worked out, I did get it, but the Cox program is still amazing and providing me those opportunities to continue that relationship building and that networking.
Mari, I think you might be muted.
Hey guys, okay. So I was saying, like Jeff just said, the networking experience is amazing with the program. But prior to the program, when I graduated high school, I knew that I wanted to learn about other cultures and get paid to travel. How I was going to do that, I did not know, but that's what I wanted to do. So I started off at one university. I started off majoring in international studies and minoring in Spanish. I transferred to the University of St. Thomas, and that's where I met my professors that were retired foreign service officers. Once they kind of explained to me what that meant, I said, that's what I want to do. So at that point in time, I kind of understood this is a big goal in my life. How do I get there? And with this program, you're going to learn how to get there. And it's not the same course for everyone. Jeff is in grad school, doing his thing, stuff like that. I have a job. Kat is in her senior year. She's looking at doing internships. There's different ways to get involved. So for me, it was, again, my mentors and just that drive to interact with people and learn about different cultures.
All right, for me, I applied when I was a junior last fall, and I knew that I love public service because I like volunteering. I like helping people get to their goals, and I like serving my community. But there was one year where I was trying to study abroad, and then I actually ended up winning the Gilman at one point because I studied abroad twice. And the first time I went, I noticed that there weren't a lot of people of color abroad. So I came back, did some volunteering, got more people to sign up and win Gilman. And then when I went back abroad again in this past spring during COVID, I noticed that the embassies were like super essential in, telling Americans like how to get back home because flights were being canceled. So, but that was after the program. So the program was like in the middle, in between all of that. And it was only then that I really started paying attention to like the embassies while I was traveling. And I really started to understand like why the embassy work is so important. And I guess the seminar kind of just made me realize things that I didn't realize while I was studying abroad in Ireland, and how like the embassies work to make it possible for Americans to actually get to Europe, and really I just combined my interest in, like I said, public service, like I want to serve Americans, and traveling. So then the Cox-State kind of just told me what exactly the jobs are, like exactly what the job duties are. And yeah, after my second study abroad, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I totally see myself doing that. So now I'm in the middle of getting my clearance for this fall internship. I'm super excited for it. And like I said, this program was definitely no, let me rephrase that. This program was the biggest highlight of 2019 for me. I absolutely loved it.
Thank you guys so much for sharing your stories with us. It reminds me of how during the seminar you all heard from so many different Foreign Service officers about all the different routes that they took to get into the Foreign Service, and how you guys were thinking very either about big goals or just kind of what are my interests and how do I make a career out of these interests, in public service, being abroad, learning languages, immersing myself in other cultures, and can't wait to see where this takes you, and we're so excited to have been a part of your journey there. I also want to hear from all three of you, and I'll throw two questions at you. One is, what was your favorite part or aspect of the seminar? Just kind of summing up for what you might say to a student who's thinking about whether or not they should apply right now, because applications close next week on August 26th.
Was there a
Can I have
second
the same
question with that, Nicole, or just that one?
You can take either aspect, whichever suits you better. Either a piece of advice, what you might say to a student who's thinking whether or not they should apply, or what was your favorite part or aspect of the program?
Well, I'll take a stab at this one. I'll keep with the pattern. So the big thing that you'll get from your participation in the Cox program is exposure. So with the diplomacy seminar, I remember working as an international trade organization rep, and it's like an hour simulation, but it's a really great opportunity for you to develop your own diplomacy skills, see what you would do in those situations, and really have that exposure for yourself. The people that you get to meet, they can really be influential, sharing information with you, but also their experiences, so you learn from them. And also exposure to DC in different ways. While I was there, we had a little tour of the city. We could have that bit to learn more about the history there and everything. But you really get exposed to the work-life aspects, the skills that you'll need to succeed in the field, and just amazing people that could help you. And so if you're looking for exposure, if you want to know what those opportunities could look like, could be for you, give yourself a shot and put in your application.
Yeah, with it, exposure is the perfect word, Jeff. Just the experience itself is hard to put in words because it's so much that you learn and so much that you gain. You can't really, it's not a tangible thing. But it's like we're in like a little secret department and we know what we're talking about and we're trying to explain to everyone else. But yeah, so I would say if you're even thinking about the program, if you're thinking about foreign service at all, apply. Like Nicole said, in my cohort, we had someone that was a biology major. I know that we have people apply from a million different majors. What I didn't realize before this program was just how many opportunities are available in the State Department. Right now, I'm not working in the State Department. I'm not in DC, but that is a goal of mine in my future career. Another thing I will say is don't get bogged down and think, okay, I've graduated, I've got to get a job, I've got to do this, and this is my career. Things change, life is fluid, enjoy yourself and figure out what works for you. So with that, just if you're even thinking about it, apply for the program. Apply, apply, apply.
I'm gonna echo Samaria here a little bit and just encourage again, everybody, like if you're just curious, it never hurts to apply because you will learn so much about all the different sectors. I had no idea how many sectors there were. My roommate was actually an engineering major, and I was like, what do engineers do at diplomacy work? But apparently they need engineers and they need all sorts of majors. So definitely look into it if you're unsure of what you want to do in the future. It's better to have more open doors rather than keep the door closed. And I'll pass it on to Nicole.
Thank you all so much. I'm like personally just very touched hearing your memories of the whole program and your advice to the students. So thank you so much, Jeff, Samaria, and Catherine for sharing your memories and observations and your advice with all of us who are here today. For everyone else, Jeff, Samaria, and Catherine will also be staying with us till the end of the program. So if you have any questions for them, please make sure to make note of them so that you can ask them during the question and answer portion. Perfect. Well, hearing about all the opportunities that you had to engage and learn about the Foreign Service is kind of the perfect segue to our final guest speaker, Yolanda Kearney. She is the diplomat in residence for the DC metro area, and she'll be sharing a brief presentation on the Department of State as a whole and some of the opportunities that you'll get a chance to hear about during the seminar.
Thank you all for having me and for allowing me to hear your stories. It's always really, really inspiring to hear from folks who are planning to join the Foreign Service. The thing that I love most about this job as a recruiter is it helps me remember why it was that I wanted to join the Foreign Service. So I'm going to share my screen for a second. There we go, victory. So the first thing that I want you to know, we're going to do some myth busting really quickly. And we are looking for, the Department of State is looking for a diverse group of talented Americans to bring all of themselves to the State Department, your whole authentic self, because we are a microcosm of the United States. And so if you check parts of yourself out, then we're not getting the whole of America. And so what we're looking for now is to diversify and to make a Foreign Service and a State Department that looks more like America and Americans. I'm here to do some more myth busting. So all academic disciplines are useful in the Department of State. I'll use myself as an example. My undergraduate and graduate degrees are in music history and literature. I was a music historian at the Library of Congress before I joined the Foreign Service. My doctorate is in religious studies, largely peace and conflict. So yes, we have lots of international relations majors, lots of lawyers. That's great. All of that is welcome, but I just need you to know that your academic background does not in any way limit you from joining the Foreign Service. As a matter of fact, we're looking for diversity of thought. So not everyone can be a lawyer, right? Not everybody can come from the IR community. So we're looking for just the plurality of academic backgrounds to have this fuller conversation in the international affairs space. Quickly, who are we? We're about 78,000 employees, roughly. About 14,000 Foreign Service employees, 10,000 or so civil service employees. Those are domestic positions that are fantastic positions at our headquarters also. But I want you to pay attention here at the bottom. This almost 51,000 locally employed staff at our embassies and our consulates, that's really the base of the Foreign Service. These are the people who provide continuity to the to our mission. Some serve for 15, 20, 30 years or longer. So cultural adaptability is going to be a huge deal. That's what we're looking for. One of the many things that we're looking for in the ideal State Department employee. So yes, we want you to be a rock star, but we're not just looking for a rock star who can just be a rock star in Paris, right? So you need to be someone who is adaptable enough to be amazing in Bangui and Paris and Cambodia. We are at 276 posts around the world in 191 countries, headquartered in Washington, but we also have passport agencies and field offices throughout the United States. So you may work for the State Department, but not work or intern in Washington, D.C., but we'll talk a little more about interning a little bit later. Everything I'm going to tell you and everything I've told you so far is available here at careers.state.gov. So there are many paths to success in the State Department. We're going to be a quick overview. Foreign Service officers like myself, Foreign Service specialists like that engineering friend that you may have, civil service jobs, there's a Consular Fellows program, and then there are lots of student programs that you'll hear about throughout your introductory program this week. The Foreign Service officer career tracks are consular, economic, management, political, and public diplomacy. You'll hear about what each of those does, but I want you to know that consular not only is alphabetically first, but it's the background. It's really the base of what we do. It's why we exist. There's nowhere on the planet that an American citizen should be without support of his or her country. And so I was pleased to hear you talk about what happened during COVID-19 and returning Americans to the United States, or helping Americans where they were in various countries, and evacuations. We exist because we are here primarily to support American citizens. And that, of course, that means also facilitating travel for those who wish to come to the United States. Our economic officers, these are fantastic careers, micro and macroeconomics, all of the trade policy, but also as a subset of econ work. This is where you're going to find our environment, science, technology, and health officers. So if you have a passion for climate change and you want to be part of that conversation about what the policy should be, that's found in our econ profile. Our management officers are essentially chief operating officers. These are the people who make sure that everything at the embassy actually happens. Someone has to make sure that we have homes to live in, right? So someone has to lease property in every country. Someone has to make sure that our Foreign Service nationals, those 55,000 or so, as you might imagine, the laws vary from country to country about what labor laws are. So a lot of our lawyers actually end up in management. Someone indeed has to make sure that we are healthy and taken care of. So our med units, for example, are under the management counselor as well. Political work is largely what you'd expect, that straight reporting. Yes, there are tires burning outside, but what does that mean exactly? So beyond the headlines, what our political officers bring is analysis. What does it mean that there are tires burning? Is it that we're looking at a coup attempt, like, oh, it seems we have in Mali today? Or is it just that we have students who are outside burning tires? CNN can't really give you that. Also in our political portfolio, we have mill-to-mill cooperation. Everything you needed to know about civil aviation, you want your plane to be able to fly over someone's country on its way to someplace else. That's our political officers who actually manage that. And then finally, my own career track of public diplomacy. We tend to be in one of two camps. The first is cultural and educational affairs. I'm a culture girl, as I told you. I was working at the Library of Congress as a music historian. So visiting scholars, visiting artists, all of the things that come along with bringing someone to country to help explain the United States and American people better. That's all in public diplomacy. And the other half of our career track is largely focused on press and media relations. So although my background is largely rooted in culture, I've spent most of my career focused on press and media relations, largely looking at press advocacy. So I chose to work in Guinea-Conakry and Cameroon and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Those are some of the worst jailers of journalists on the continent. And so it's very rewarding for me, for example, to be able to advocate on behalf of journalists who are risking their lives in some cases to do their jobs. So in some instances, I've been told, I had a journalist who was jailed tell me, I always know when you're coming to visit me, Yolanda, because they start feeding me. And it's incredibly moving I've been able to say to a journalist's wife, I know he's alive because I saw him myself last night. So it's incredible work, less horrific work in that realm. It has been in the Western Hemisphere, where there are still on the books some laws against criminal libel, which means if a government doesn't like what a journalist writes, that journalist can be arrested. And so these are largely pre-colonial laws that still exist. While I was in the Caribbean, we were able to work, I had a very proactive ambassador in Jamaica. We were able to work very hard, and Jamaica repealed its criminal libel laws. And when I was in Barbados in the Eastern Caribbean, that mission is accredited to 7 countries. And of the 7, 4 had criminal libel still on the books. And we were able to very successfully work closely with Grenada, with St. Kitts and St. Vincent to have them repeal those laws. So it's been a very, very meaningful career for me. And I could go on and on, but I won't, because you have more stuff that you need to learn. about our Foreign Service specialists. This is where you need to know that if you can dream it, it absolutely exists in the Foreign Service. There's a need for it. So IT, someone has to make sure that we're able to communicate securely throughout the world. And so our IT colleagues are among the absolute best in the world. So if you have friends or you yourself are studying IT, you should think about taking your really, really formidable skills and bringing it to the State Department. Our human resources, again, someone has to make sure that all of this backing and forthing that officers and specialists do, someone has to make sure that that actually happens, not just the logistics of it, but managing all of our Foreign Service nationals, that 50,000 or so. We have medical providers and regional psychiatrists also. So if you have friends who are thinking of ways that they can serve their country and also be in medicine or be a nurse practitioner, there's a role for them as well in the Foreign Service. Our special agents and our diplomatic couriers under diplomatic security, those are obviously very, very exciting jobs, both domestically and abroad. We do have engineers. Someone has to be able to drop and manage the embassies of the future. In some cases, they're being built in countries that don't have the infrastructure that, that an architect dreamt of when he or she drew that embassy. Our financial management officers are, someone has to pay the bills, right? So lots and lots of people who study accounting. If you are interested in taking on, in some cases, billion-dollar budgets right out of the gate as you start, it's a wonderful opportunity if you're looking at financial management. And then finally, our facility managers, you have to make sure that all of this stuff works. Someone has to make sure that it's up to US code and that we live and work safely. And our office managers are really, in a lot of cases, the glue that holds it all together. This is not like some disastrous view of like the Devil Wears Prada, where the ambassador comes in and plops down a purse. No, it's not that. In many cases, the office manager is working directly with the ambassador's residential staff. It could be something that happens very, very quickly. Oh, it turns out the foreign minister would like to see the ambassador this evening. Someone has to manage not only the ambassador's schedule, but also the ambassador's chauffeur, all of the moving parts that go along with making sure the office is going to work. So those are wonderful opportunities on the specialist side of the house also. You're going to hear a lot about student programs throughout your chat, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but there are graduate fellowships, Pickering, Wrangell, and FATE. The FATE fellowship is specifically for IT. There are paid and unpaid department internships for juniors through the graduate student level, and then many study abroad opportunities. Gilman scholarships, so happy to hear about a Gilman alum, Gilman McCain scholarships, Boren scholarships, and critical language scholarships for language acquisition, and then Fulbright student programs also. If you have a visiting scholar who's lecturing at your university, chances are very good that that person is a Fulbrighter chosen by a public affairs section abroad, sent to the United States to lecture and research for an academic year. I don't know what's happening. I'm frozen. I think I have to tell my son to get off of Roblox. All right, very quickly. These are the countries in which I've served. These are my flags, the countries to which I've been accredited. I joined the Foreign Service when Colin Powell was Secretary of State. He was very much the face of recruitment at the time, and I was very inspired to join the Foreign Service because I think part of that ad campaign at the time was Colin Powell said he needed me, and I was like, okay, Colin, I'm coming. So I joined. In the middle, that's me greeting Nikki Haley, our former ambassador to the UN. She was visiting the Democratic Republic of the Congo because that country was in extra constitutional space as elections were delayed by almost 2 years. And then finally, I've kept this image in to keep me humble. It's my first ever press conference, no pressure. The ambassador, the DCM, and the assistant secretary for Western Hemisphere Affairs. I'm gripping the podium for dear life. I'm here to tell you that you will get through it if you if you decide to go through this path. I'm joined today by Ron Pakowitz, who is our diplomat in residence for the Midwest. This is my contact information. There's a diplomat in residence for every state in the union and every territory. So you can find out who your diplomat in residence is. In no way am I the only one, and we all have very interesting paths that we took to join the Foreign Service, and they're eager to serve you and to help you figure out if this is the right path for you.
Thank you so much, Yolanda, for that presentation and for sharing your story and giving everyone here a taste of all the different opportunities, as our alumni were mentioning before. And I hope you all can see there are just so many opportunities for all different disciplines, interests, what have you, at the Department of State. And so with that, I'd like to open up the floor for questions. If anyone has a question for any of our alumni, for Yolanda, for any of our speakers, or for Meredith and I, just about the program in general, please, at the bottom of your screen, you should see that there's a participants button. You can click on that, and there should be a raise hand function at the bottom right of your screen once you open that up. So please feel free to raise your hand, and once you're called, I will ask you to unmute yourself. You can ask your question and then re-mute yourself and lower your hand. All right. And I see that we have a question from, I'm so sorry if I butcher your name, Benny from University of Hartford.
Yes.
All right, if you'd like to ask your question.
So I have a lot of interest in diplomacy, and I've always wanted to serve at the Department of State. I don't know who would be best to answer my question, but I did a lot of research on the career.gov page, and I found that you have to go through the Foreign Service Institute in order to be joined, like the Department of State, in terms of all the career options that she said, like being a political diplomat or going into public diplomacy. So, like, how would that part work? Like, applying to the Foreign Service Institute and like taking exams. I'm sure there's an exam that you have to take for that. Like, how is that whole process work?
There is a whole process, and it's something that we definitely talk about on program. But Yolanda, I think I might kick that to you if you want to just briefly let her know what that process looks like.
Sure. So I did not include the slide that says 8 easy steps to join the Foreign Service, but it really is. So step 1 is, it sounds like you've already done that. We put it up front, which is to choose your career track, because this is where we expect you to function throughout your career, and it shouldn't be a decision that you make lightly. So the first thing is to sort of figure out what it is that we do. There's a lovely quiz that we have at careers.state.gov. It's 50 questions, and it's which career track is best for you. It's a slider, so you slide it to the left and you say, okay, I'd rather chew glass than do this all day, or you slide to the right and I could do this for 8 hours a day for career. And at the end of those 50 questions, it will generate for you a career track that matches your interests best. So that's the first step. Then there's taking the Foreign Service Officer test. On careers.state.gov, we have lots of information for you. There's you can take either in the browser, or on our app, a version of the test, an abbreviated version of the test. And those are retired Foreign Service Officer test questions. So those are real questions from prior iterations of the exam. So you get a really good feel for what's going to be on it. The FSOT is in 3 major sections. There's a job knowledge portion, which has a little bit of, there's some world history, some structure of government on there. People say it's like Trivial Pursuit, but it really is broadly, it's very, very broad. And so take the quiz and see the types of questions that are on it. There's an English usage portion that is multiple choice. Both the job knowledge portion and the English usage portion are multiple choice. That's just structure and grammar. And then finally, there's a hypothetical situations portion, which is meant to provide you with some scenarios, and then it evaluates your judgment. So at the end of the FSOT, on the day that you take the test, you also have an essay prompt where you're going to write a response to the essay that's given. I still remember mine. It was pro or con school vouchers from, dinosaur days, because I joined the Foreign Service in 2004. So whatever the prompt is, where people tend to get into trouble is trying to make this a policy paper that's ready for Kissinger's signature, which is not what this is meant to be. It's meant to be a very clean, sort of vanilla essay that speaks directly to the prompt. So don't waste any time on that one, sort of trying to figure out what the GDP of Honduras was in 1978 or whatever. It's really meant to be a way for us to evaluate your writing abilities based on a particular subject. After the FSOT, you get an invitation to the Foreign Service Oral Assessment. After passing the Foreign Service Oral Assessment, you have your medical and security clearance. After that, there's a process called Final Suitability Review, and you go on to the register, and based on your scores coming out of orals, you are issued an invitation to A100, which is our basic training, if you will. 8 easy steps.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. Just in interest of time, I see that we have 3 questions. I saw another hand earlier. And so just want to make sure that before we finish our formal part of the program, does anyone have any questions for our alumni about their experience on the diplomacy seminar, or any questions that you might have about that? Meredith and I, and Yolanda, if you're able to stay with us a little bit, we will stay on a little bit after 5 for anyone who has any additional questions for us logistically or about the Foreign Service in general. All right, with that, Karuna, I'm going to call on you.
Hi, yeah, thank you all so much for taking the time to do this today. I was wondering, actually, this is for the alumni. I would love to hear a little bit about how this program maybe influenced your post-college plans in the short term, and when you're planning on, like, what you're planning to do before taking the test, when you're planning on taking the test, and maybe how this program changed that.
I can go first. Jeff, you've been going first a lot, so I'll go ahead and take this one if that's cool. Okay. So for me, as far as what my path will be, who knows? No. What I'm doing right now is, again, I'm the chief of staff for a state representative. So prior to this program, I had in my mind, I graduate school, I take the test, I pass the test, I get sent overseas. And that is not the way things are at all, which is, again, why I was saying to follow your own path. So right now I am working. I am thinking about doing law school the next couple of years. And then after maybe getting a couple of years experience as a lawyer, I would look at becoming a foreign service officer. So for me, becoming a foreign service officer has become like the ultimate career goal for me, which is something that I'm planning for in years in the future. When it comes to Jeff and Kat, they're looking at more, their goal is a little bit closer than mine is, for lack of better terms. But I'll let Jeff speak more on what his experience has been like and what he's done after undergrad and all that fun stuff.
So I'll pop in here. Great response, Maria. So my experience is definitely different in the sense of, by the time I had already graduated undergrad, I had secured the Rangel Fellowship, and so my timeline had already begun. So by January, I was in the security clearance process for the State Department. By April, I decided a graduate school to attend, and by May, I was in DC as a Rangel Fellow during orientation. And so it's already started for me, to say that it's at the very least, with the fellowship. You formally start in the State Department after you complete your graduate study and your overseas internship and domestic internship. And because of COVID, there was an overseas internship for me this year. It was just a replacement, and so I'll be entering next summer with A100. But timelines sort of vary with the different programs. If you're Pickering, you are off, and then your internships are like in the later summers, and you still do grad school 2 years. But it really depends on if you're going the fellowship route, if you're not going the fellowship route. It all really varies.
All right, so for me, I'm actually going with the fellowship route. Following the seminar, I actually signed up to do the Ringel Summer Scholarship, which is kind of like they give you kind of like an overview, I believe, of like what the fellowship is, and you actually end up taking 2 classes. So I got alternate for that, but I didn't make it as a finalist. But following applying for that, I applied for the internship, which I got, thankfully. And I'm actually starting my Rangel and Pickering fellowship applications right now. And I hope to be in Jeffrey's position next year. If not, my backup plan is to go to law school and then maybe pursue this later on. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you all.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so sorry to have to break the news that just, I think we only have time for one more question. So Justin, I'm going to call on you in a moment. Kendra, Catherine, Bernie, again, I'm so sorry that we won't be able to get to your questions live, but if it's something about the program, as I said, Meredith and I will stay on for a little bit after if you'd like to chat with us. But if you have any additional questions for our alumni, Yolanda, if you're able to stay with us, we'd love to have you here. But if you need to go at 5, we'd be happy to receive your emails at diplomacyseminar@closeup.org, and we'll forward your questions to the alumni that you'd like to get in touch with Yolanda or with any of our other contacts who might be able to answer your questions. I will put all that information in the chat for everyone as Justin is asking his questions. And so Justin, I will kick it off to you for the final question of our live session today.
Justin, did you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sorry, I was waiting for someone to unmute me. My apologies.
No, no worries.
Okay, so Nicole and everybody else, thank you so much for hosting this. And I'm grateful to meet all this other students virtually as well. My question's specific to agencies like ones that fall under the UN umbrella, like the Organization on Outer Space Affairs, and where the kind of the future of things seem to be expanding. How does one best direct their path that way if that's where they know at this point in their education where they want to go, where they want to head with it? And I put that question to either to anybody really. So thank you.
That is a really great question, and I think I'll take that one very briefly because that's the perfect question to bring to a program like the Diplomacy Seminar. So as we mentioned at the top, this is a career exploration program. And so the point of coming on program is to learn more about the careers that are available at the Foreign Service. Just like you asked, that is a very niche topic, and it's something that you can explore in a lot of different arenas. And I'm sure that Yolanda's already pinging with ideas for you on different ways that you might be able to find a space for that at the Department of State. And so just through that, I want to encourage you to apply to the program, encourage you and everyone to apply to the program to be able to hear different stories from different people who had particular interests that maybe seemed outside of the purview of the department and found their niche there. But also I am just going to, I am posting this to the chat right now, so hopefully everyone can see that. I see Yolanda has put information about how to find your diplomat in residence, who is someone that you can talk to immediately about, what is available to me at the Department of State. And then I have also posted the email address that you can email to get in touch with any of our speakers that were here with us today. Also a place to learn more about the seminar if you're interested in learning more about that. And also if you're ready after this to go and apply, the link to apply to the seminar as well. And so with that, I just want to say again, thank you so much to all of our guest speakers, to Ambassador Gutierrez, to Kat, to Samaria, and to Jeff, and to Yolanda for being here today. Meredith and I are so excited. We hope to see your applications come through. And yeah, us at Close Up, Heather, Meredith, and I are just really excited to be offering this for 2020 and hope to see you all soon in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you.
And again, we'll be staying on if anyone does want to continue asking questions. But anyone who does need to leave is free to go now. It is 5 o'clock.
Thanks.
Okay, bye guys. It was nice talking with everyone. Best of luck. Please apply. And again, if y'all have any questions, send it to the email and I'll get back to y'all. So Meredith, Nicole, I'll see y'all later and y'all have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. It's been a pleasure. If I can be of any assistance, please let me know.
Bye, Jeff. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. It was nice to see everybody virtually.
Bye, Kat.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right.
For the young man who was asking about,
Oh, actually, Yolanda, one second. Catherine is still on, and do you still, your hand is still raised? Are you interested in still sticking around and asking your question?
Yeah, thank you. So I was just wondering, like, what a day in the life of a seminar would be. So I know that 2020 will be very different from previous cohorts. So I was wondering, like, what programming you would have, what the entire day would look like, more in detail. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Meredith and I and Heather can absolutely take that because we've been talking a lot about this. So it's going to be a 5-day program this year. It'll start on a Sunday where you will get to know us. We'll do some of that community building that we talked about. And that day will run, well, every day. So it'll be the 18th. Sorry, I should backtrack a little bit. I just straight into programming. The program will run from the 18th of October to the 22nd. So it's a 5-day program. And the schedule will be 12 p.m. Eastern time to 5 p.m. Eastern time with an hour break in the middle. So it'll be about 2 hours, a break, and then another 2 hours to close the program each day. In terms of what those days will look like day to day, the first day, the Sunday, will be about that community building that we talked about, getting you acquainted with all the rest of the cohort, building that network, getting a sense of who the department is, and just sort of goal setting for that day on what you hope to get out of the rest of the program. And then your middle 3 days will be just jam-packed full of conversations with foreign service officers, with ambassadors, senior foreign service officers, with Pickering and Rangel Fellows. So we're going to be we're going to be hosting a networking session with Pickering and Rangel Fellows, so you can hear some of what that process is like if that's something that you're interested in. And those days will be focused mostly on that, getting acquainted with the department through talking to foreign service officers. And so we have a lot of sessions planned around that. And then throughout the program, we're going to have you working with your cohort on, okay, processing what have we learned today, what are we thinking about for ourselves, but how might we also share this with others? And so the final day will sort of be just a recap and debrief, and hopefully presenting with a small group from your cohort on how you might take this back to your school. Does that sort of answer your question? Does that help? Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Meredith, do you have anything to add?
I was going to say, you still will get to participate, like Nicole said earlier, in the diplomatic simulation, which is a really big part of the in-person experience. And so you will get to do that as well, which is always a really fun experience. And Kendra, I noticed that you have your hand up and are still here. And since you haven't asked a question yet, would you like to ask your question? Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sure, mine is just really quick. I noticed during the presentation I was given that there's a section in the Foreign Service about critical language, something for the students. I'm interested in that and wanted to know a little bit more. What are those languages? What can I do with those languages? That kind of thing.
Sure. Was this on careers.state.gov that you saw that?
Yes, it was.
Or it's in the slide also, I think. So the critical language program is for, the languages vary from year to year, from cycle to cycle. It's a language acquisition program, and so it's they're beginner beginner, intermediate, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, I think, are the sections. So off the top of my head, last year I think beginner was like Azerbaijani and Punjabi, and so it goes from there. But they are languages that the State Department has deemed as critical in terms of Americans who have those language abilities and have acquired those skills and mastery. I don't know what it's going to look like under COVID, but it's normally an exchange where you get immersion in country, and it's under the umbrella of the embassy. So it's a great program. Those applications, Debbie, help me. Applications, I think, are normally in February, if I'm not mistaken, but I can find it and send it to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Love how we're hearing so many questions about specific things that you're seeing about a career at State, things like what are the critical languages? If these are these types of specific questions, if you're having them, I would 100% suggest that you apply to our program, because these are exactly the types of things that we talk about in a lot of detail. You hear them either from the recruitment team, or you will also get to hear about the experiences that foreign service officers had when they were learning a language and they were going through Foreign Service Officer Institute, and sort of this whole idea of what does this process look like in real life. So I love hearing all of these questions that you have, and if these are the types of questions you have, this program might be a very good fit for you. So thank you for asking your question, Kendra. Edgar Felix, you also have your hand raised and haven't asked a question yet, so would you like to unmute yourself and ask?
Real quick, I was looking at the application for the seminar and I saw that it requires, or that it asks for a transcript. I just wanted to know, I don't think that my university does like online transcripts to the students. Would you be okay if we do, like if we request one and like maybe upload it as a PDF or?
Yeah, even an unofficial transcript is fine as well. But yeah, if you do want to order one and you have to upload it as a PDF, that works. But if you have through your university system some way of just getting an unofficial transcript, that's perfect for this program, for applying to this program.
I do have access to the unofficial transcript, but we can't download it. Could I just like screen grab and submit that instead?
Yep,
Awesome.
that works for us. Yeah.
And then Benny, you have your hand up to ask another question. Do you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask?
Yes. So it was about the slide presentation. I took all those quizzes and stuff, and like I found that like I'm interested in like into like, is there like, I think maybe this will be better for it's good that I'm applying then, because I could learn from the program. But are you able to like branch off from, let's say if you're interested in public diplomacy and then you're also interested in political, like can you do both, or are you able to branch off at some point in your career? I just wanted to know that.
Right, so the reason we make step one, identifying your career track, is because you're expected to serve in that career track throughout your career. That said, there will be times when you serve out of cone, as we call it. So for example, I'm a public diplomacy officer, but I've been a consular chief, I've been an econ officer, I've done all sorts. I've done some political work also, but the primary portion of my career is spent in my career track, because when it comes to advancement and promotion, I'm going to be reviewed against other public diplomacy officers doing PD. So if I have not been in my career track, it's going to be difficult for me to make a case that I have been excelling in the job that I was hired to do throughout the career. So the short answer is people do take tours outside of their career track for a variety of reasons. There may be tandem couples, which is say two married couples, and if they're going to be in country, one of them needs to work in a different part of the embassy so that they can work together. Or, there are many, many reasons to do that. But the majority of the career is expected to be spent in the career track that you choose when you register for the Foreign Service Officer test. Now, you'll see on the subreddits and some other groups online that, oh, don't worry about it, you can always change. That used to be true. That is no longer the case. back when we had shortages in particular career tracks, you could demonstrate that, oh, well, they actually need more public diplomacy officers because they don't have as many. We don't have those shortages anymore. So the reason, again, that we put step one, identifying your career track, is because we want you to be really, really careful about what it is that you think you want to do for this career, because you're going to be expected to perform in it, and perform in it well, in a variety of settings around the world throughout the career.
Thank you.
Well, we're at almost 5:10. Just wanted to call out a question from Mia, which was whether or not the application requires a personal statement or essay. And the application does ask for a 250 to 500 word personal statement on what motivates you to apply for the diplomacy seminar. So just in case that question was on anyone else's mind, just wanted to share that with the group. Let's see, we have two last questions. Meredith, how are you on time? We will take these last two questions. And then again, if you have any other questions or anything comes up after we all log off today, please feel free to email us at diplomacyseminar@closeup.org. I'll put that email back in the chat. So
do we want to go with Eileen first, since she hasn't asked a question yet? And then Justin, if you want to ask after Eileen. So Eileen, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, yes. I want to ask, is the seminar going to be in person or online? I'm sorry, I probably missed it. I was having some technical difficulties earlier.
No problem. Sorry, I didn't realize I hadn't muted myself. The program this year will be virtual, so it'll be a 5-day virtual program. But we're trying to bring the in-person experience to the virtual, so we're really excited to be able to have you all online this year.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah.
We got a question in the chat that may be of interest to others as well. How can we contact the alumni that we're here talking to all of you? If you can email that email address that we've put in there, diplomacyseminar@closeup.org, we will get the information from, so if it's a question for, let's say, Jeffrey, if in your email you can say, I had a question for Jeffrey, could you please ask him blank, blank, blank. We will either get you in touch with Jeffrey, or we will ask him and relay the information to you. And then last, Justin, would you like to ask your question?
Thanks, Meredith. Is basically a follow on to ask if Ms. Kearney could share her answer to my original question. She began to, and I think was diverted to another.
Right. So if I understand the question correctly, you're looking at what if I want to work in other international organizations? Is that the question? Yes. You're certain. So from the State Department, and I was part of a UN State Department tandem. My husband, my now ex-husband, amicably divorced, I should note. My now ex-husband is a UN diplomat. So you can imagine how complicated it was being that sort of tandem. I can't speak for other organizations, but I can tell you that there's an entire body of officers and specialists working on international organizations. It's called the IO Bureau. So there are missions to NATO, for example, missions to the African Union. So if you have an interest in working in the State Department and still working on and focusing on those organizations, it would be in our International Organizations Bureau.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I will say that in the years past with the seminar, we do give students opportunities to go and specifically learn about organizations that are involved in international relations and either have a foreign officers who work there or who are closely linked to the State Department's mission. So there is some of that is covered in the seminar. And again, if that's a career track that you think you're interested in, I would highly encourage you to apply so that you can be a part of the seminar and learn more details about it in that way.
Thank you both.
All right, well, with that, thank you all so much for being on with us today. Yolanda, thank you so much for donating your time as well and for staying on with us to field a few more questions.
Sure. Good to see you.
right. Meredith, Heather, Ambassador Gutierrez, I will see you all soon, and hope to see the rest of you. Hopefully see your application soon. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Bye, thanks for being here.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye.